Hello and good morning. And let's start with the class today. And the topic for today is concept mapping. So, concept mapping is basically a teaching learning strategy. It is a tool that visualizes relationship between various concepts. So, it is a very useful strategy if our teachers use in their classrooms. And for this, they have to know about how to encourage their students to visualize their ideas. So the learning objectives for today's class is to understand the meaning, nature, and types of concept mapping. Also to identify relationships between ideas by placing concepts to the correct places on a concept map. This is very important. To encourage higher order thinking among students. Yes, we want to develop the higher order thinking skills among the students and to empower, to transform information into knowledge by making meaningful connections between concepts or information. So this is very important in concept map, that we have to prepare meaningful connections, not irrelevant things. So let us take a look at first of all at the meaning of the concept. So a concept is a general idea of something which comes to our mind. According to Webster dictionary, something which is conceived in our mind. So concepts can be based on our experiences or real phenomena. And this is how we have to organize them into a proper visual. And for this, concept map can be a great help. So let us take a look at the brief history of concept mapping, how this strategy came into existence. This technique of concept mapping was first developed by Joseph D. Novak at Cornell University, which is a university in New York, USA. And Novak concluded that meaningful learning involves the assimilation of new concepts and propositions into existing cognitive structures. And it was actually based on the theories of Ausubel. So Novak and Govan in 1984 developed a theory of instruction that is based on Ausubel's meaningful learning principles and which incorporates concept maps so that it can represent meaningful relationships between concepts and propositions. Concept maps have their origin in the learning movement called constructivism. So in particular, the constructivists hold that learners actively construct their knowledge. So Novak's work is based on the cognitive theories, which stress the importance of prior knowledge in being able to learn new concepts. So this is how, while planning or preparing a concept map, we have to do. We have to link the new knowledge with our prior knowledge. So the most important single factor influencing learning is what the learner already knows, and ascertain this and teach accordingly. So for this, the concept mapping technique can be used at the beginning of the class, at the end of the class, or in the middle of the class. So this totally depends on the teacher, and if the teacher is aware how to use this technique, they can incorporate this technique whenever they want in their class. So this is a very good approach if a teacher go through this technique, make use of this technique so that they can know the previous knowledge of their students and how they are going to able to locate or interlink the knowledge with their newfound knowledge. So this is also based on the constructivism approach. So it is basically a technique for visualizing the relationships among different concepts. It is a diagram showing the relationship among concepts, and the concepts are shown by labeled arrows which link each other, which link the concepts with each other. So the relationship between concepts is articulated in linking phrases, like for example, gives rise to, results in, is required by, or contributes to. So this is how we link the ideas with each other. This is an example where you can see that through various arrows, different organized, how the knowledge is linked with each other. And there are certain phrases also which are combining them, which are linking them with the certain words like are, include, maybe, show, needed to see, between. So this is how we are going to link our ideas. This is again an example which shows the structure and functions of cells. So here how the cell is structured, what are the functions of cells. So this is how it is linked, that how cells consist of these kind of cells. Then it can be animal cells or plant cells. Then further we see within the animal cells what is it consisted of. Then we move on to plant cells, how it is consisted of, and what they do in the end. So each and every idea is properly displayed in the form of visuals, which whatever we is coming in our mind. So it is very helpful for students to visualize what they are only thinking in their mind. So according to Novak and Govan, concept maps should be hierarchical, in a hierarchical form. So as we saw in the last example, that a certain proper organized manner is shown, that first what happens, then what happens, then what happens. So the more general, more inclusive concepts should be at the top of the map. The more important topic should be at the top of the map, and the more specific, less inclusive concepts goes on at the bottom of the map. So this is how in we can see that the main idea is at the top of the map. Then it is divided into subtopics, then further the facts, the subtopics, subfacts, and this is how the less important things are going into the bottom of the map. So let us take a look at few of the definitions of concept map. So according to Elpert and Gruneberg in 2001, a concept map is a graphical representation of a person's or a student's knowledge of a domain. How much they know, as we have talked about this, that this can be used at the beginning of the class, so that a teacher knows that what kind of ideas have perceived in their students' minds. And it can be done in the middle of the class after a topic is taught, or after the class is over, after the topic is taught to the students completely, then also it can be used. So here in the form of graphical representation, a student's knowledge of a certain domain can be understood by the teacher. Next definition is by Deanne Ehrlich in 2006, and it is said the arrangement of major concepts from a text or lecture into a visual arrangement. Lines are drawn between associate concepts. Then relationships between the connected concepts are named with the phrases which we have seen. These concept maps reveal the structural pattern in the material, and then it provides a big picture. So this is how whatever we are only thinking in an abstract way is presented in a form of big picture. So it is a great way to build upon previous knowledge by connecting new information back to it. So it is a visual organization, and also it represents knowledge. It shows concepts and ideas and the relationships which is among them. So you create a concept map by writing keywords. Sometimes it can be enclosed in some certain shapes such as circles, boxes, triangles, etc. And then arrows are drawn between the ideas that are related or interlinked. Then you add a short explanation by the arrow to explain how the concepts are related. So this we have seen in the previous examples. So a concept map has certain elements, which first of all is nodes. Nodes corresponds to important terms, the important concepts. So it includes concepts usually enclosed in circles or boxes. So these are the nodes. These are known as nodes. Then there are connecting links, which denotes a directional relationship between the various nodes, various concepts which you have enclosed in a circle or a box. Then there is level on line. It conveys how the concepts are related. So these are the linking words which are given on the line. and it specifies the relationship between the concepts. So these are the important elements which we have to include while preparing our concept map. So these are the nodes, the important concepts. These are the nodes. Then these are the connecting words, connecting lines, sorry. And these are the including Lebanon line, the important phrases which are interlinking the various nodes like this. These are the planets, how inner and outer planets are shown here, how many inner planets are there, how many outer planets are there, and they are further divided in various categories. There, then at the end, examples are given in the form of how many planets come in the inner circle and how many in the outer circle. So this is how the mapping is done. Now, what is the purpose of preparing a concept map? So according to Plotnik in 1997, he has listed 5 purposes of concept mapping. First of the purpose is to generate ideas, so that more and more brainstorming can be done, more and more ideas can be generated by the students. To design a complex structure, um, it can be in the form of long text, hypermedia, large websites. So whenever idea has conceived in the mind of a student, it can be presented, it could be complex also. So by mapping it out on a sheet, with the help of a tool, it can the complex thing can be made easy. To communicate complex ideas, this we have discussed that if there is certain ideas which are very complex, and maybe through visualization we can make it very simple. To aid learning by explicitly integrating new and old knowledge. So whatever knowledge we have, the previous knowledge, and what new knowledge we have, so it helps in integrating that. To assess understanding or diagnose misunderstanding. So here, as a student and a teacher, both can assess what understanding has developed among the students regarding any topic, or if there is a misunderstanding that they have not understood the concept properly. So that also can be diagnosed by the teacher, and that then remedy can be given after that. So there are 4 major categories of concept maps, and these are the 4 categories. The first one is the spider theme. Here we can see how we formulate the spider concept maps. These are organized by placing the central theme or unifying factor in the center of the map. So at the center, it can be done here, or in this form, or in this form. So outwardly radiating sub-themes surround the center of the map. So the main theme is given like this at the center, and this is how the sub-themes can be shown. This is how sub-themes can be shown around that. Then there is hierarchical category of concept mapping. It presents information in a descending order of importance. So the most important information is placed on the top, and distinguishing factors determine the placement of the information. So here we can see that how hierarchical concept mapping is done. The main concept is at the top. Then by going down by the degree of importance, the other concepts are shown like this. So the most important thing is at the top, and then distinguishing the important and less important knowledge, it can be placed like this. So mainly the information is presented in descending order of importance. Then the next kind is flowchart form, in which it is the information is organized in a linear format. This is how, in a linear format, in a proper line, it is shown, in a proper procedure, it is shown. Then there is systems type of concept mapping, in which information is organized in a format which is similar to a flowchart, but there are certain inputs and outputs. So this is how input is done. Then there is a linear form of format in a form of flowchart, and then there is an output. So what kind of input is there, then what is the topic and how it is going, and then there is an output. So this is how we can see here clearly that how Concept mapping can be done in various kinds of ways, and these are the ways which we have to understand. So for your understanding, you can again see this, that in 4 formats, you can ask your students to prepare flowcharts or hierarchy or spider concept maps or systems concept maps. So for this, our teacher also need to be aware of all these kinds of techniques or types. Now, how to create a concept map? So first of all, identify the important terms or concepts that you want to include on your map. So for this, you have to do certain exercise. Then arrange concepts in a pattern that best represents the information, the pattern which we have learned earlier, the 4 kinds of pattern in which we have to present the information. Use circles, squares, triangles, or ovals to enclose an important term or concept within the topic. So this is very important. We have to identify what are the important topics. Then we have to link these topics. So we have to use straight lines with arrows, single or double-headed. We can do that if the arrows in the single direction, or it is interlinked. So there can be double-headed arrows to link terms that are related. Then we have to think about the phrases and the words as labels which are written on the lines, so that we can designate the relationship between the 2 connected important terms. So the first step is identifying the important terms or concepts and related concepts and their sub-concepts. So there are 3 strategies where we identify important concepts that has to be included in a concept map: an instructor generated list, and students students are not permitted to add their own concepts. So here we have to find out the strategies how we are going to include the concepts. So it is not always what the teacher has told them. So sometimes there is a list already given by the teacher. So students have to go around that concept. Sometimes students can be allowed to add their own concepts to the list. There is no instructions have been given by the teachers. Or entirely student generated list of concepts can be generated by the students on their own. So for novice concept mappers, it is probably best to have the terms provided. Novice means the new new students, or the students who are learning at this concept as at the first time. So for this, probably it is best that the instructor should give the strategies how to prepare. So for the learning purpose, they should be given so that they develop confidence, and later on with practice, they will gain confidence, and they will be able to do all the concepts, show all the concepts through on their own. Then the next step will be to arrange concepts in a pattern that best represents the information. So they have to identify what kind of pattern they have to follow. They can choose hierarchical structure or non-hierarchical structure, depending on the topic which they have been given or they have selected. The use of hierarchical or non-hierarchical maps may have different benefits in terms of pedagogy and assessment. If the concept maps are being assessed by the teachers, that in the form of a assessment, if they are have been given to the students, so the students have to make it the pattern has to be selected in such a way that it should be benefited to them. Novice mappers may want to create their concept map using post-it notes so that they can easily change the location of any concept before a final version is constructed. So this is how we can teach them techniques that if they are afraid, if the new learners are afraid how to prepare their concept map, if they have to change their structure again and again, and they don't know which is the best pattern for them. So at that time, what they can do, they can take out some post-it notes, and they can post the notes, and whenever they feel that this is not going in the right way, they can stick out that post-it notes and stick out at the proper place, at the best appropriate place what they think. So in this way, they can be taught how to prepare, how to arrange their concepts in a proper pattern. Then the next step is to use circles or ovals to enclose an important term or concept within the topic. So each circle or oval should enclose only one term or concept. So it should not be done that in one oval or in one circle, many of the terms are being used. So there can be terms of more than one word. So we are not saying that you should only use one word every time when you write it in a circle. So the important concepts or the terms should be encircled or in the form of any shape which you feel appropriate or which your teachers have taught you. Use straight lines with arrows. This we have discussed that it could be single or double-headed so that the terms can be linked that are related. So each line should link only two concepts. So there should be a purpose behind that. There is no limit to the number of links stemming from any one term. So there can be many of the links from coming out of one term. Pay close attention to the direction of the arrowheads on the linking lines when you are labeling them, whether it is a single arrow or it is a double-headed arrow. Each concept is defined by its relation to other concepts within the topic. So the relations include the superset, subset, attribute, part, whole. So in this way, we can first prepare a rough outline and then give it a final say. Then the next phase is to use a word or phrase of words as labels when we are connecting. So certain phrases to be used to designate the relationship between the two connected terms. So each line should have a label that describes the relationship between the two terms. For example, here we can see that we have given important terms like this in certain circles. Then we have given arrows in which direction it has to go. Then we have to give the phrases to be written on those arrows. So this is how these are the double-headed arrows. So this is showing the mutual interlinking. So this is how relationships and mutual relationships can be shown easily. So this is again an example of concept map so that you can better know how to prepare concept maps and how you will be able to teach your students so that they can visualize in a better way. This is again one of the example. So the important term here is the teaching techniques. It includes let students lead. What do you want? What do you want to visualize? If the teaching technique is learner-centered, teacher-centered, participatory, what kind of thing? Then you will, if you have given the students the chance, then what kind of activities being done by the students? They are listening, they are adjusting to situation, or there is certain situation at that they are not working. So this is how this is all concept mapping is linked with each other. So you have to identify the core idea, concept, and related concepts and sub-concepts first. Then only you will be able to proceed further. Then you have to establish relationships among the different concepts. Then for preparation of any kind of concept mapping, you have certain softwares available online where you can do, what you can do is you can download the softwares which you like, which are easy for you. So your instructors can tell you how to prepare your visuals, how to prepare your concept maps with the help of softwares which are very easy to use. You can install the software on your system and you can download these softwares which are free to use. Few of the softwares are free to use. So if we talk about the concept mapping in education, so there are various views regarding that. Concept maps can prepare writing, assist in exploration and reading, and be used as the planning tools. So these are the areas in which in education area where the students can utilize these concepts. More precisely, we can say that it can be used as a creativity or brainstorming tool. It can be used as a note-taking tool. It can be used as a planning tool for writing or preparing a project, or as a tool to express and communicate complex ideas. So this is how we have to identify in which kind of situation we need to use this tool, whether we want to develop creativity among our students, whether we want to brainstorm them, or whether you only want them to prepare a note, use concept map as a note-taking tool, or you want some things to be planned, some ideas to be generated, you can use it as a planning tool, or you only want to express or communicate your complex idea which are coming into your mind. So linking concepts and visualizing their relations may help discover new problem solving methods. So maybe there are some problems in which they are not clear, and after formulating a concept map, maybe they are able to generate the solutions to the problems. So concept maps can be used as knowledge organizing tools also. They are meaningful learning tools, and they can also serve as an assessment tool. So there are various kinds of uses in education for concept mapping. So it can be used to externalize and make the conceptual knowledge that students hold in a knowledge domain. So it can be correct, and if it is not correct, then it can be corrected. So if there are certain errors, the teachers can do corrections and assess the knowledge, and on the basis of that, they can improve their knowledge. So what are the benefits and advantages of a concept map? It helps visual learners grasp the material. So as when a student is asked to do abstract thinking or they have to learn any abstract knowledge, they are less likely to understand the concepts. And if there is any visualization, if you are using any kind of teaching aids, and if you are providing any instructional materials to them, or you are asking them to prepare their own ideas, to show their own ideas, how they will relate the concept to each other. So it will help them grasp the material. So all learners will benefit from this activity. There are many learners who will not understand the concepts. So through this activity, it can be, they can learn to be participative. They can learn to visualize whatever they think. It helps students to see relationships between ideas, concepts, their authors, and various things. It helps memory recall. Whatever they already know. So it will helps in the recalling of their knowledge. They will be able to identify and then interrelate the new knowledge with the previous knowledge. It helps to clarify and structure ideas. So whatever vague ideas they are thinking, whatever it is coming in their mind, they will be able to clarify and give a proper structure to the ideas which are coming. It also aids in developing higher level thinking skills. So according to the revised Bloom's taxonomy, which was given in 2001, the higher order thinking skills are now creating, analyzing, evaluating. So in this way, they will be able to reach to that higher level thinking skills. It will also help students to synthesize and integrate information, ideas, and concepts. So there may be various ideas or various terms or concepts they have learned. Now they will be able to analyze on their own. They will be able to synthesize the different informations which they have gathered. They will be able to integrate the informations. It also encourages students to think creatively about the subject. So there may be some concepts, there may be some ideas on which they do not think creatively, or they do not want to think about them. So concept mapping can encourage them to think creatively in the way. It lets students do self-evaluation of beliefs, values, or socialization, etc. So they will be able to self-evaluate, self-assess also their knowledge. It helps students evaluate assumptions. So whatever assumptions have been put forward by the concept or by the teacher or by any instructional material, they will be able to evaluate whether these assumptions are correct or not. There are certain disadvantages also, like using concept maps for grade-based evaluation. If a teacher wants to evaluate only the concept map, so there are certain areas in which teachers are not aware that how to evaluate or assess the concept map, how to provide grades regarding that. So this can be a disadvantage. And they may be challenging for those who are used to rote learning. So it will be obviously be challenging to those students who only want to memorize or only want to do rote learning. They don't want to understand the concepts. So at this time they will face difficulty while preparing concept maps because they don't have any understanding for the previous knowledge. Now if a teacher wants to assess concept maps which have been prepared by their students, they have to follow certain steps. They have to identify the key concepts of a process. They need to identify the relationship between given concepts. A group work can be given to the students to discuss relationship among given concepts and prepare a concept map as group activity. So this depends on the teachers that how they want to assess their students in what way. There may be some scoring criteria also. They can prepare rubrics also. So regarding the propositions, they have to see that meaningful relationship between two concepts are indicated properly by connecting lines, by writing linking phrases or linking words. So is the relationship valid? This has to be judged by the teachers. So they have to look it carefully. They have to make proper criterias that on which basis they are going to judge their students. Then the hierarchy. If the a certain pattern is followed, if the certain pattern is given by the teacher to the students to be followed, if that has been followed by the students, so does the concept map show hierarchy? And if it is showing hierarchy, then is each subordinate concept more specific, going to the less important one? And then the concept which has been drawn is properly given, properly drawn. So you can give some scores. You can arrange that one. The scoring process can be done. So you can give some few points allotted to them for each valid level of hierarchy. Then they will check the cross links. So does the map show meaningful connections between one segment of the concept, hierarchical concept, and the another segment? So if it is valid and significant, you can give score as you have decided. You can give 10 points for each cross link that is valid and significant. And if it is valid but not significant, you can certainly give few points if you have decided to motivate the student or properly assess the student. So there are various kinds of assessment tools or procedures that can be adopted by the students or the teachers. So it can be thought of as a set of procedures which can be used to measure the structure of a student's knowledge. Formative assessment. You can ask students to make concept maps at various points in the learning process, as we have discussed this. You can use these maps to both assess the learner's understanding. You can modify the curriculum. You can see the development of the learning which they are doing. It can also be used as a summative assessment. You can ask students to create a concept map at the beginning of the semester to assess the knowledge they have coming into a course. So this wholly have to be done by the teacher. So there are various softwares available for preparation of concept map. What you want while doing your concept mapping, there are softwares, types of softwares, like there are concept map editor. There are also diagram and concept maps online tools. Some of them are the presentation softwares when you have prepared how to present that. There certain softwares are only information organizer, and then there are mind mapping software. So there are two terms, mind map and concept map. So there is a minor difference between these two terms. These are different terms, as concept maps are wide and they can be used for different concepts, and whereas mind map only focuses on one theme and one concept. So these are certain online tools and softwares available which can be used to prepare concept maps. And among this, I have tried Lucidchart, and I have also gone through the CMap inspiration. So these map editors and these kind of softwares are easy to use, and it will be able to inculcate the creativity among the students and also among the teachers. The teachers can also make use of these kind of concept map editors or the softwares. So this is an example of the inspiration software, and this is how CMap also works, where we, with the help of these kind of tools, we prepare various shapes, various arrows are placed, and we can type or write different kinds of text in among them. We can prepare the different kinds of patterns according to our needs. So the question now arises that after knowing all these things, how we can make our concept mapping exercise a fruitful exercise. So students need to produce maps. The more they do it, the better they will understand the process. So you have to understand this, that you have to be thorough with the process, how you will give instructions. You have to be planned with everything, and then you can expect from the students to understand the process. So always try to begin with a simple topic using a small number of concepts while teaching this strategy to the students. Work through examples. Try to give more and more examples to the students and modify the map wherever necessary. Emphasize the importance of thinking about all possible links. So you have to give students the brainstorming sessions so that they can find out more and more about a certain concept. Emphasize that there is no single correct answer, often more than one appropriate link, so that they can produce more interlinks between them. Emphasize the importance of using arrows and their direction in describing the proposition. So the students must know what they are preparing, how they are using their arrows, whether they're going in a single direction or they are double-headed arrows. So this is how, by incorporating few techniques, a teacher can successfully use the concept of concept mapping. So this is how new innovations and new things can be brought about in the teaching learning process. And with this, we can make teaching learning process more interesting for the students. We have always talked about that. For this, you can go through various references here are given. There are certain YouTube videos where you can learn how to prepare concept maps. You can go through various international and national links. Various universities and educational centers have been working properly on the concept mapping, and concept mapping can be used in different subjects, in all subjects. So it depends on teachers how they utilize these kind of teaching learning strategies in their teaching learning process. So with this, we come to the next part of our lesson today, that is the evaluation questions now. So the question one is, the first step of building a concept map is, the options are revising for completeness, making connections between concepts and ideas, selecting subject or topic, or creating a layout of ideas. So obviously, when we want to first take a first step in building a concept map, the answer will be selecting subject or topic. Then only we will be able to decide that how to proceed while preparing concept map. Question number 2 is, which of the following is not an element of a concept map? So this we have discussed that there are certain elements which need to be included while preparing concept map, and this has been given certain names. The options are legend, node, arrows, or links. And obviously, if we have listened to the paid attention to the lesson today, so you will be able to identify which is not an element, and that is legend. The node, the arrows, the links are a very important part of concept mapping. Question number 3 is, which of the following is not a concept mapping preparation tool? So I have given various kinds of preparation, concept mapping preparation tools, map editors. Among them, the options are Inspiration, Compendium, CMap, or Skype. So obviously the answer is the Skype, which is not a concept mapping preparation tool. It is a social media tool. Next question is, a concept map is a dash and representation of knowledge. What is it? Options are audio tape, visual organization, audio visual theme, or none of the given choices. So the correct answer is, a concept map is a visual representation or visual organization of our knowledge or ideas, whichever is conceived in our mind. Question number 5 is, a disadvantage to concept mapping is. Here we have to find out the most appropriate disadvantage of concept mapping. The options are, it is a visual representation of ideas or concepts. It can be time consuming to complete, especially for the novice. It is dynamic and changes with learner experience and knowledge. It helps to develop problem solving and critical thinking skills. So after carefully examining all the statements, we can see that most important disadvantage is it can be time consuming to complete, especially for the novice. So obviously when a student is not aware how to prepare mind maps or the concept maps, and they have been following the rote memorization process, and though they don't understand the concepts, then they will not be able to link the previous knowledge with the new knowledge. So this is how it will become a time consuming project for them. Question number 6 is, concept maps cannot be used as. This we have discussed that concept maps can be used in various ways in education, and which is not one of the way. The options are a creativity brainstorming tool, a note-taking tool, a planning tool for writing, a social media tool. So the first 3 answers are correct. So we can use concept mapping as a creativity tool, as a note-taking tool, a planning tool, an assessment tool. So we can use it in various ways, but we cannot use it as a social media tool. Question number 7 is, meaningful connections between one segment of the concept hierarchy and another segment. What is the correct term for it? So if we read the statement again, then we will be able to identify the correct answer. The options are path, direction, lead, or crosslinks. So we have gone through this word again and again, the crosslinks. So these are the links which maintains relation between one segment and another segment. When we are using it, we are preparing the hierarchical pattern of concept mapping. Question number 8 is, identify the wrong statement about the benefits of using concept maps. So we have discussed variety of benefits of concept maps, which is not the benefit. Options are, it helps visual learners grasp the material. It helps memory recall. It helps to clarify and structure ideas. It helps in playing games. So it helps, the first 3 options are correct, and the 4th option is not correct, because it is not a game. It helps in various ways. It is beneficial in various ways. It helps our memory, helps in utilizing our memory. It helps to clarify and structure ideas. It helps in visualizing our ideas. It helps in grasping the material. Question number 9 is, which of the following is not the categories of concept maps? So this we have discussed that there were major categories, 4 major categories, and which of the following is not the one? The options are spider, hierarchical, flowchart, or diverse. And the correct answer is diverse. So diverse is not the one. And here we can see that the first 3 are the categories of concept maps. Question number 10 is, the concept mapping technique was developed by Dash. So who was the one who prepared, who gave the concept of this concept mapping technique to us? The options are Joseph D. Novak, B.S. Bloom, Osborne, or David Goleman. So the correct answer is Joseph D. Novak, along with his associates at Cornell University in USA, New York. He found out that learning needs to be related to each other. The concepts of previous knowledge need to be connected with the new knowledge, and this is how they came out with the concept mapping technique. So with this, we come to the end of the lesson today, and hope it will be fruitful for you if you try to learn a new concept, a new teaching learning strategies while teaching in the classroom. Thank you very much.